Oppenheimer review. All right. The first thing I want to say about Oppenheimer is that going into the movie, I was worried that there wouldn't be any kind of Hiroshima sequence or Nagasaki sequence, and that this would be like where you don't get to see the alien or something like that, and Christopher Nolan would pull that, and he did. So there is no Hiroshima sequence, no Nagasaki. I thought that was kind of a ripoff, and there's only like all kinds of there's like kind of psychedelic imagery of like nukes going off or the planet on fire and stuff or all that, but you don't get I mean, why wouldn't they put that? It's not like it was a complete Oppenheimer's eye view, of everything. It didn't just follow him around, but they send the bomb off, and then you hear it went off over Japan. And I mean, more or less his life's work, but you don't get to see it. I thought that's a huge ripoff. Maybe you figure that the filmmakers weren't going to go there, but I don't know. You just see like visions of like where he just sees people and their faces are melting off for burnt carcass or something. But the film never goes to Japan. All right. Beyond that, there's a lot of there are some good sequences in the movie overall. If you're a big Nolan guy, you've got to see it. But other than that, I didn't really. I don't think it's a good movie, and it goes heavy on all these like hearing confirmation hearing for this guy Strauss, and then Oppenheimer's security clearance like review board or whatever, and it's so much of this stuff, and most of the movie, I guess you'd say, focuses more on his like connections to left wing politics and communism, and so it delves into McCarthyism and things like that. But in general, the guy probably like I agreed with the security clearance review board is a you're a loyal American, but no security clearance. It seemed about correct that the guy had kind of gone off the deep end, and what he was saying at the time was wrong. Basically, that instead of developing the H bomb, they should have just did like arms control or get the Soviets to agree to this and that. Is completely delusional and would be very suspect with the guys sending money to Spain through the Communist Party and so forth. I don't think that necessarily shows that he's a bad guy or something. It shows that I mean, you can see the security risk to it. In general, I did like some of the movie where I like the Los Alamos stuff. I felt some of it where it was kind of about a guy who was kind of a crank and a dilettante who kind of comes into his own once he's like in charge of Los Alamos and the nuke program. And I thought that was cool. I like stories like that where you know when the, where a guy has a mission and then he rises to the occasion sort of thing. It didn't so much focus on that as much as his kind of weird liaisons with communists and communist party members and things things like that. And I think it shows. I mean, it is really kind of disturbing how many people in the nuclear program are actual communists, and then even a lot of them are basically just figuring that they're going to be done with the program once Germany's out of the war. Because a lot of it was, we've got to nuke Germany, nuke, so on. But then they don't want to nuke Japan. uh, Oppenheimer, to his credit, sees the program through, and he says, you got to think about the American GI who still has a battle to fight. But I thought it was disturbing that there's enough of these people in this program, and that's their kind of loyalty and so forth. It's very devious. I thought. I mean, and it seemed like the movie was showing that this guy isn't um entirely a good guy. Like he tries to poison his professor at the beginning with the poison apple. And so you get the impression that the guy like Oppenheimer is like kind of a psycho. But then you'd say like, okay, this guy might be kind of psychotic in some ways, but he was the right guy. He was maybe he was very much involved in say Spain and idealistic about like supporting this the war in Spain. And I think stuff like that might have made him the right guy to head Los Alamos at the time, where he had the drive to do it, and he had the militancy. Because there's however many of these guys who might have had the same motivations. They're communists and they're Jewish and so forth. They might have had the same, but they didn't. They weren't really as militant and just with the drive of this guy. I don't know. I thought it played a bit too heavy. Is trying to say he's like the most important person ever or something. And I didn't even figure he's the most important person in the nuclear program. Certainly not the most important in World War II. And I'd say his real qualities seem to have been just in leadership and organization and just getting the right guys into the project and getting them all motivated and fired up and keeping the work going. I'd say Leslie Groves seemed like a very heroic and in the endeavor in the film. And then also Edward Teller I thought came off very well. And I thought what he says and did is completely reasonable, and he was basically correct about the H bomb and so forth. But the movie was kind of acting like this is bad. Like it's bad that he lost his security clearance and this is like McCarthyism and that and so forth. But I thought it just all seemed fair that I thought it seemed fair enough. And at some point you make enough bad decisions, and if you seem like you say enough weird things that might have consequences, which it did for him. Um, Definitely, it seemed like people liked the movie when like even in the parking lot there were like these guys who seemed like they seemed very like urban type, but they were like just talking all hyped up, and they're like, "Oh man, I never even heard of that Strauss guy. What a weasel!" And then they're like, "Yeah, that's Strauss's bitch ass." And so, and like I was like, man, these guys got really into that movie and into some of those scenes where I found myself not really into some of the kind of courtroom drama of the movie. And I don't know. I think it could have explored things a little more with the actual bombs and the implications of it and so forth. And it seemed kind of like just the same old, and nothing that profound was said in the movie at all. And um, stylistically, I thought the movie was really good, and it was the scenes were well done. Everything looked really good. There's some weird stuff. There's some kind of like degenerate stuff in the movie where even the people watched it were like revolted. Like there was kind of like a nude scene where like a guy in the audience is like, "What the F?" Right when they showed this on the screen, and I felt about the same. Like I can't believe that they had to put some of the stuff in the movie, but they did. And nobody nobody wants to see this stuff, but you're gonna see it. The beyond that, I mean, the story for what it is well told. Um, Except I think some critical stuff is kind of missing, but it's educational. It was entertaining. Just to me, it's just in the end not a good movie. Like I didn't like it. I did I didn't I like Christopher Nolan, but I didn't go into the movie like super hype. Like I went into it like maybe maybe I'll be blown away, but I didn't have a lot of expectation. And then I just felt like I couldn't believe how carried away they got with. some of the scenes where I just don't care that much, and I felt like a lot of it was justified, like the McCarthyism of it that they were showing. I was thinking like this seems totally reasonable, but the movie is like, no, it's bad, and it really played up that like this guy Strauss got it to him like for making Oppenheimer the bad guy, and some of that just seems like it maybe to watch the movie is like an eye opener about how much communist infiltration there is, or how if you examine it, you're made into the bad guy because people can't really comprehend what's going on with it. They might think, oh well, okay, the guy's a communist, but he just has a certain kind of idealism or so forth, but is actually kind of surrounded by traders, and actually he's denying that there was a spy at Los Alamos, but and then there is, and then these people are giving the nuclear secrets over right to the Soviets, which they would have never figured out in a million years otherwise. So it's like we do this whole program, then we have communists in it, and then they just give it all away, and now we're in the situation we are actually because of that. Um, Not so much to the you know anything inherent uh with the weapons or so forth, is because you give it to the straight to the barbarians because your communist ideology and your disloyalty to the country that you're supposed to be working for. Um, Beyond that, the acting was really good. The photography of it's good. Um, but I felt it's lacking. There's just a lot of like these shots where it's like the super shallow depth of field where like like the background's all blurry and he's just like and I'm like whatever. Um, it was I thought maybe Gary Oldman maybe was the highlight. His Truman, and I really like that scene in particular. I like some other scenes too, like with Stimson, and that got a good laugh from the audience. But yeah, beyond that, this is a 3 hour movie, and I felt like they just spent way too. I mean, they don't even show you Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Come on, they it's just it's going to be a lot of like pre-war communists talking about this and that, and then some McCarthyism kind of courtroom drama with like confirmation hearings, and then and like a security clearance. And to me, it's like whatever, you know. But I don't know. I think Nolan did a good job, but this isn't like a blockbuster masterpiece kind of a movie. It was. You don't need to see it by any means. Um, but yeah, so this is a bad review. I'm not saying I totally didn't enjoy any of the movie at all. I just think in the end it's not a good movie. But yeah, anyhow, that was Oppenheimer review.